Hello you moon-headed game directors, Jim Sterling here, and this is our second wrap-up video for E3 2015. It's Jimpressions time, hooray! Before we get cracking, let's talk about the things I inevitably forgot from our day one video. I forgot to mention South Park Fractured Butthole. Ha ha ha, that's funny. It actually is somewhat funny, if you're a child boy man like me, but that's good. I'm really into that idea. I really liked South Park Stick of Truth, so thumbs up from me. I'm going to try not to use the words cool and awesome as much as I did in the last video. I rewatched it and realised that I said that a lot. In my defence, it was like 7 in the morning and I'd not long been up and didn't have words to say out of my face mouth. But I'm going to try and avoid that. Anyway, the other thing I forgot from the Ubisoft press conference was that For Honor game, which people have been saying is like a cross between Chivalry, Dynasty Warriors, Dark Souls, and all that kind of stuff. It's certainly good names to mention, and it does look interesting, and I will most certainly try it out, if only for the fact that the fella behind it appears to be some sort of Viking pirate demigod who came out with a cane, a beautiful beard, rings on his fingers, and was just like, you wanna play my game? You wanna play it? Yes, you do. I will buy anything that man is selling. So those are the important things I forgot from yesterday. Let's crack on with day 2. Yeah? Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, cool. I said cool again. Shit. Nintendo, for me, just wins E3. It won it last year, and it's winning it this year. And that sounds controversial, I know, because they didn't have any huge Megaton reveals. A lot of people have said they were disappointed with Nintendo's press conference. But, well, I say press conference, their digital event that they've started doing these days. But for me, I actually dug it. It was entertaining, it was fun, and that's really what matters. No, they didn't have huge news, but it was still the most entertaining and amusing 50 minutes of E3 this year. You know, it started with Muppet versions of Shigeru Miyamoto, Satoru Iwata and Reggie Fils-Aimé, and they continued doing that. All sorts of weird... I mean, it frustrates me that Nintendo seems so on the ball with things. Like, there was little skits of Iwata holding bananas and then staring at the camera in shock. Weird little sketches, the whole thing where they announced Star Fox with them slowly turning into animals. The Nintendo World Championships, of course, had the Luigi death stare shown on screen. It's like they know what the internet is doing. They know some of the stuff they do that creates a stir among the community, and yet they dig their heels in with YouTube and do all that content ID shit. And it's like how can you get it and not get it at the same time? It's frustrating, because I truly feel like they're more on the ball and oddly more in touch with sort of gamer community stuff than any of the other companies. And yet they are still so disconnected from it as well. It's such an odd thing, but then that's Nintendo for you. They never do things quite by the book. But I really did enjoy it. No, there was not really much to talk of in terms of news. I did like that the stuff they did focus on was all like this year's stuff. It was all, you know, we're only going to show you things we're working on. We're not going to do, we will get to Square Enix, but we're not going to do things that aren't out for ages. And there were some neat little things, stuff that the leaks and everything had taken the wind out of the sails of. But, you know, I'm really sold on Super Mario Maker. I wasn't before. But the stuff they showed at Nintendo World Championships and the footage they showed at the digital event really got me on board with it. I'm surprisingly looking forward to it. I didn't think I would be, but I'm really on board with Mario Maker. Xenoblade Chronicles X, that is Xenoblade Chronicles X. You know, I'm obviously going to play it. I loved Xenoblade Chronicles. I really just want to get confirmation that we're going to get robots with cackling Cockney voices, though, because that was the best bit of the first game, was all that, "Hey, you Monado boy! I'm a big old robot, I'm going to eat ya, Monado boy!" I need that. I need that to be part of my life. There's nothing I can do about that. That's something that Nintendo needs to address. If any of you games media at E3 and are watching this, doubtful, but if you are, please try and find Nintendo representatives and get the answers on that. Needs McCartney robots. Zelda, Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. I'm into it. I was sitting on tenterhooks along with everyone else, I think, waiting to find out whether or not the co-op was online or not, and the co-op is online, which is a pleasant surprise. A 3-player co-op, and I was sat watching it thinking, why is it 3-player? That seems arbitrary, and then they explain why, because they're doing that whole, they call it a totem mechanic. You're carrying people, you can stack yourselves up, and they said 4 players was too much, and I'm like, huh. A weird design decision that they then go on to preemptively address the concerns of and give a valid reason. Thumbs up. Wonderful. So I'm looking forward to that. Star Fox, of course, very much like Shenmue 3, so very much like the Shenmue series. It's not a series that I have any particular love for. I don't dislike it, it's just, again, I don't have the history of that. That wasn't a franchise I really got into as a child, and never really picked up beyond that. I'm very well aware of it, you know, I'm well aware of what Star Fox is and the history it has, and very much like with Shenmue, I'm mostly just excited for everyone else. I am going to play it, of course I am, but I am really thrilled that those people who wanted more Star Fox get that. And following good old Kamiya on Twitter is well worth the announcement, because he is yelling at what he calls the Star Fox idiots right now, which is good, so I'm into that. What else was there? There was other stuff, wasn't there? There was some Nintendo games and stuff. There was a lot of Amiibo stuff, and I've already kind of gotten bored of the Amiibo thing because they just fucking... Ugh. I've already talked about that on the Jimpressions. Yeah, they can talk about Amiibo all day long. They can combine Skylanders with Amiibo. They can do Animal Crossing board games with Amiibo. I'm not feeling it anymore because of how Nintendo handled it. When they showed the Amiibo, the Yoshi's Woolly World Amiibo, they did an interview with the director, the creative lead on it, and she was sat on a bed next to a table. Sorry, I'm being very stuttery, I apologise. She was sat behind a table that had like several dozen Yoshi Woolly Amiibo on it, and I, along with a lot of people, pointed out that's probably the world supply of them right there. Those are the only ones they've made, and that's not really the attitude you want to foster when you're trying to get people excited about your little toy tat. You know, I really do want to continue being interested in Amiibo, but right now I just can't, so all that stuff meant nothing to me. Yoshi's Woolly World, on the other hand, looks adorable. I'm really into the yarn-based games, and I love this idea that they try and move beyond the idea of simple, aggressive challenge as the sole-defining factor of a game. They say if you just want an easy time, you can just stroll through it. If you want to try and get the collectibles and stuff, that's more challenging. That worked out really, really well in Kirby's Epic Yarn. I know some people don't like it because there's no true way to die, but I've always felt that, and I've said this before, I've always felt that very restricted way of looking at games, and these yarn-based Nintendo games are great ways of challenging that. And really the best thing that she said, the director, when she... I apologise for not... don't even think I caught the name, I was too busy making sarcastic tweets. But basically the closing sentiment of the interview was that they just want people to smile when they play it. And that's just... that I found wonderful. I found that wonderful about the whole thing. They kept talking about fun. And it was before the Nintendo World Championship, actually, where there was a photo of the Nintendo execs. Who would, they usually take a photo of themselves and say about how they're ready for E3, and they talked about how they're ready for an E3 that's just going to be about fun and having a good time, and I'm like, it's so weird that you see that at E3, and it shouldn't be weird. It shouldn't be weird that these company people are talking about fun, and yet it is, which says a lot about the industry. The industry's too busy looking cool and serious. Which has its place. I'm all for serious games. I'm all for games that aren't fun, like this War of Mine and stuff like that, that actually give you a bad time in a valuable way. But it is nice to see that a focus on just innocent, colourful fun is good. Is good? That didn't make sense, but is there, and that means a lot to me. So that's why I really like Nintendo's press conference. For me, they killed it. I realised that if you're a news junkie, they did nothing for you really. But for me, it was the strongest event of the show just because it was the most, and there's that word again, fun. Standing in direct opposition to that was Square Enix, who really worked hard, it seems, to pull the most boring conference out of their fucking asses. The men in suits talking on stage were less believable puppets than the puppets they had for the Nintendo Live event. They just talked endlessly, over and over. At one point the translator stopped translating, probably because he fucking fell asleep. They just talked. I was amazed they made Just Cause 3 look boring. Like, they showed Just Cause 3 footage with this boring man just saying, and then you can get a wingsuit and you can fly around and you can do a shooting with a gun and you go after a drug man, and that is all, like, exciting, isn't it? Just Cause 3. Like, how do you make Just Cause 3 boring? Apparently you give it to Square Enix and tell them to present it. That was just, it was incredible. It got so boring, I started cackling. Maniacally, especially when they were talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 and everyone was suddenly interested and they kept talking. And they were doing it on purpose, but it was the fact that they knew how boring they were being, on top of how boring they didn't know they were being, that made it work. Like, when they just kept saying, right, without further ado, we're going to talk about Kingdom Hearts, but first, let's look at this. And without further ado, now we'll finally talk about Kingdom Hearts, but there's Roy in the audience. Hello, Roy. And it's like, that's really funny, but they'd also just had, like half an hour of boring talking shit anyway, so it was just insulting on a glorious level. And that was legit entertaining. To Square Enix's credit, the Kingdom Hearts 3 footage was worth waiting for. I liked the look of it, seemed fast, colourful, exciting, dazzling. This is coming from someone who actually who stopped giving a shit about Kingdom Hearts. I got exhausted by the fact that they weren't making a real Kingdom Hearts game and just kept putting out mobile games and portable games with pretentious titles that did nothing for me and complicated the story even more so. Like, it's such a convoluted story, and they say Heart and Darkness over and over again, and it drives me like up the wall. But Kingdom Hearts 3 is getting me back into it, so I'll give them that much credit. Less credit for all of the mobile shit they were banging on about, all of that wank. Fuck it, you could see in some of the footage they were showing, like that Kingdom Hearts mobile thing, you could see the multiple currencies up in the corner. I mean, that was Square Enix really exposing the direction they actually want to go in. They, for as much as we may hate it, they're probably making more money off that mobile shit than they are off bringing out Kingdom Hearts 3. They talked about the Final Fantasy VII remake. They didn't tell us anything. You know, breaking news, Square Enix is telling us that they're going to tell us more about it at a much later date. This is the same with Kingdom Hearts 3, like they've just confirmed now, like it was this huge thing that it's in development, and we weren't excited, we were just like, what, so it wasn't in development before? You fuckheads. I mean, that's what Square Enix does. That's one of my biggest problems with them. It's actually one of my earliest Jimquisitions I did, was talking about how they love announcing games way more than they actually like making them. They just announce, and then we don't see them for 5-6 years. So they announced Nier 2, which I'm interested in. Platinum Games, which seems to be working on everything at the moment, is working on that. I really loved what Nier tried to be, but I found the gameplay underwhelming for me. I realise a lot of people love it, and that's cool, and I loved some of the really interesting things it did, but I could have done with more pizzazz to it. And Platinum Games certainly knows how to bring the pizzazz, so fingers crossed that'll be good. So yeah, that was Square Enix's thing. They had a man in a moon head without explanation. He just came on. I mean, it's Emil from Nier. I always loved the design of it, but the director of Nier 2 just came out and talked with a big version of his head on his head. And in a press conference that was so dull and boring and businesslike, it was incredible to see, because the fellow with the moon head was talking in this dry way, surrounded by suited fellas who were all talking in this dry way, and it was just so matter-of-fact and casual and unspoken of, that seeing him on stage with everyone else was just just jarring. So thumbs up for that. And that was Square Enix. Fucking interminably dull press conference, peppered with the occasional surprisingly interesting thing, and kind of brought the mood down. But that's alright, because the mood came back up at the end of the day for our final press conference, because the PC gaming show happened! And it was almost 3 hours fucking long.